She elephant. Get up on the book of faces. Josh Allen over under 34.5 pass attempts. He's only done it 3 times in his last 10, and he's playing Skylar Thompson.
Take his fantasy score. He had 23 at half against New England yesterday. He's going to be playing out of his mind.
Last week.
Last time they played Miami, he put up 36.
All right.
That's more secure than taking the under.
Hammering all your prize for picks.
I almost think Josh Allen's going to have 4 by half.
Missing by a point has me
It's
pissed.
just the emotions are going to be different. Number 3 is going to be on the field, on the sidelines.
Yep. As long as this game starts off where yesterday left off. But
I hope so. I hope that's the case.
fucking sweet football.
Did you guys see that ultimate bad beat that I sent you guys in the chat today?
The 11 million?
11,000.
Or 11 million. Yeah.
He lost 1.4 to win 11.
I saw that on Twitter last night or on Reddit last night. Fucking retarded.
How dumb you got to be?
Drake.
I think someone found Zach's MyBookie or FanDuel account. Boy was like, "There's no way we can lose this game."
Betting the house.
Proceeds to lose this game.
Betting the house and the car.
Yeah. What did you risk? Everything. What was it for? $11,000. Oh man.
Like, not frugal enough that you're gonna throw a stupid amount of millions of dollars on a bet, but just enough that you only want to win 11,000.
Yeah, I mean, obviously that person, I don't think loses their house. They have the 1.4 to just apparently spend stupidly. I would hope so. Either that or how did you make good life choices to make the 1.4 million?
How are you not, like, if you're really trying to gamble, how are you not taking the 1.4 on the other one, you know? Like, if I'm going for a shot at a cash out, I would have been taking the money line on the Jags when they were down 27-0. What was it, like 5,800 at one point?
I even checked MyBookie, and MyBookie was not allowing you to bet the Jaguars at that time. I checked. Trust me, I was just like...
I think Brock messaged me last night, and he got it at 42.
Really?
Oh, dude, he's bet the Jags money line when they're down like 4 times this year.
Well, yeah,
cashed
because
all
they're
4 times.
the number one comeback team. From as far as like biggest comebacks go, they've had multiple 15+ point comebacks, which is impressive. I mean, because at that point you're talking like you have to score, get 2-point conversions. Like there's a lot of factors playing into your part there. I mean, that was just impressive. I mean, starting off talking about the Chargers game, I think the biggest L yesterday, I don't even think it's to Brandon Staley, it's to Joey Bosa for acting like a child at 2 very, very bad times to act like a child.
I love that point I brought up in the chat last night. Both of those games yesterday basically completely flipped around on one big decision made by a Bosa.
Yeah.
Nick getting that fumble was all the defense needed to just fucking tear up the second half. And Joey slamming his helmet and getting that penalty is basically what collapsed him.
Well, not even just that, but I think the biggest one is
one
not
was a
even the
momentum
penalty.
shifter, one was a momentum killer.
Yep.
I don't even think it was the penalty. It was the offsides penalty. Like the unsportsmanlike conduct or whatever is, it's 15 yards. That hurts your team. But when your helmet is offsides and then you guys get a sack and you're setting them up for a 3rd and long inside the red zone, and then now in opposition they had a short yard situation because they got 5 yards instead of like losing 7. I think that was the biggest momentum shift was his offsides penalty.
So that
was the biggest one for me.
I kind of missed it because I was watching the game. We were watching a movie on the TV, so I had the game on my phone, and I had no sound. I had it turned all the way down. But I saw that happen, and it looked like on the replay there was an argument for a hold. Was that the case?
So I literally was at dinner last night for my birthday dinner, so I only got to see up until like the Chargers were up 24-0, and I was like, wow, I didn't think it was gonna be this bad. And then that was when I got sat, and then I looked at getting your guys' like updates from the group chat, and I was like, no way, the Jags are actually like coming back right now.
Yeah. Like everyone kind of counted that out because I turned the game on once I realized the Jags were putting points up because I was watching the movie with my kids, And then Jace obviously missed it. You missed it, and everyone was like, "Whoa!"
Oh, I went back and watched the NFL like replay highlights, but
Yeah,
that shit was insane.
yeah. I think it looked to me like on the replay that Joey, the ball snapped. Joey came, hit his spin move, and then the guy he spun on stepped in front of him again and reached and looked like he was grabbing him right here.
Well, and I think the hard part last night is if you're a Chargers fan, I think you have some valid criticism, but also like on the other end too, they missed several pass interference or at least bare minimum defensive holding penalties against the Jaguars or against the Chargers while the Jags were on offense. Because I mean, the officials let them play ball yesterday, and I always prefer that, you know, especially from like if you're going to be unbiased, like you'd rather have them play the game of football and be like, oh, they should have called those things, rather than it's a game filled with, oh, that shouldn't have been a call, or they shouldn't have intervened here, you know, so on and so forth. I'd rather have the refs not have an impact rather than, oh, this game was decided by the refs.
I felt like the Seahawks 49ers game in the first half was one of the best football games that we were been able to watch all year. The refs like kind of let some shit go on.
Yeah, there was
a lot of like hand fighting between DK and the Wards. Like it was a good game to watch in that first half, and then like the momentum got shifted and the life got sucked out.
It was I love seeing that now, as I would much rather have the stressful first half and the explosive second half that we have this year than watch the incredible first half and then the second half collapse that the Niners have had in the past.
I think you guys lucked out. You got injured early this year instead of getting injured late.
Right. 100%, yeah.
Well, and you guys get injured lucky too. I mean, how many times do you find potentially your franchise quarterback after your first franchise quarterback goes down, and then your high-level backup goes down, and then now actually you're probably, I mean, with the quarterback who's played the best football for you guys, it's maybe a little too early to say franchise quarterback and all these things, but like, I don't think you can't look at Brock Purdy the past 6 weeks now and say that he hasn't been the best quarterback for the Niners this year.
Right.
You know what I mean? He's the best at utilize. He's especially yesterday. I mean, just give it to your playmakers and let them ball, bro.
Yep.
That's all you need to do.
It's been cool to
He's
watch
good.
that.
I like watching him.
Yeah, it's been cool to watch that storyline in the NFL overall the past couple years with guys like Brock Purdy just not knowing what to expect from him, and all of a sudden he's balling.
I've took his fantasy score the last 5 weeks and cashed all 5 weeks.
Yep.
It's been
And,
nice.
Last year, I mean, we all knew Cooper Kupp was a good receiver, but then you give him Matt Stafford, and now he's the best receiver in the league. It's just like
I think
guys
a lot of that also goes with KOC's offense, though,
Yeah.
because you're seeing it this year with Jettas.
Yep. No, I think it's really cool to just see random guys just show up like that. It makes any game really fun.
I mean,
to watch.
shoot, it's almost like the NBA this year. Like the NBA, there's been more 50 burgers dropped by random players than ever.
It's like that year we had
Fuck,
random-
Lloyd Markkinen dropped a 51 a couple weeks ago.
I remember that. Yeah.
Well, that's because he's a lone motherfucker out there in
Pretty
Utah, though.
much.
That's a lone brother.
That was like the only player I wanted
the
the
lightest
Warriors.
brother too. He belongs in Utah, though.
That was the only player I wanted the Warriors to go after in the offseason. Like when they announced that he was on the block, I was like, we need Lowry. I've always liked him. Back when he was at Arizona with Alonzo Trier. They were a good little team. They just could never finish a game.
On the hard part, he was hurt a little bit with the Bulls too, and I think they just got so much kind of like young talent, like that same era. You have so many like of these mid-level talent players.
Well, the Bulls
like
already
young
shipped
players.
into the Cavs by then.
I know, but like even then, Cleveland was the same problem. Like you go into this group of like so many young middling stars who want to make their name, like no one's there to kind of help develop you.
I wouldn't even say that was Cleveland's problem. Cleveland's problem was they just had way too much fucking height on their roster. Way too much height.
I didn't think it was gonna let me put that in.
What you just yam home?
So I took the one we were building earlier because I never finished it. I dropped the Jeff Wilson rushing yards and I added in. I took the over on Christian Wilkins and Tre'Davious White's tackles, and I didn't think it was gonna let me because defensive player and the opposing offense.
It's been starting to let you on prize
and it
picks.
totally let me do it. So now I've got Gesicki's receiving yards, Cook's rushing yards, James Cook, Sanders kicking points. I took the Hawkinson and Hodgins touchdown, and then Wilkins and White tackles. I think it was letting me do it. But
Fuck yeah.
fucking A. Tre'Davious White's at 3.5.
Let's use that as a transition. We'll start talking about today's game. Siggy, why don't you
I
kick
was
us
gonna
off?
say, let's power these and get into some off-season news. So, we got the game that would have been really exciting to watch if Tua was playing. But we get the electric factory of Skylar Thompson today.
Yay.
It's going to be his new nickname.
Oh, Teddy's back in
The
the
Electric Company.
With an over-under of -14. It was 10.5 this week earlier. Line is now shifted to -14 with an over-under of 44.
That's 100% because DeMar is going to be at the game today. DeMar Hamlin's at the game. Like, yeah, you have to. I would almost hammer that. It's going to be rough today.
I think the Bills put up 42 on their own.
Yeah, that's the rough part too. Is the Bills have shown a great ability to put their foot on the pedal and stay on the pedal in games like this.
Like, I think if they get up well enough, like, they'll pull their starters during the third quarter, and that's when we'll really get our James Cook luck.
I believe the Bills are going to show us today what the Chargers should have done yesterday. If my team got 4 first-half interceptions and they went into halftime with 27 points, I'd be a little frustrated.
Can I also just say how much Asante Samuels Jr. looked like Asante Samuel in the playoffs?
Yeah, looked like his dad in the playoffs. Seriously, like straight up, just
I was
making
li-
the plays that you needed to.
I was like, this is deja vu right now. I remember when he picked off Peyton Manning 3 times in the first half. Colts still came back and won that game, so deja vu really struck twice.
Stat sheets were cool last night. Like towards the end of the game, I was looking at the stat sheets, and during the comeback, Lawrence had thrown all 4 touchdowns to all different players. He had 3 receivers that were all at 7 receptions and like 65 plus receiving yards with a tutty.
They were letting him cook.
Yeah.
The problem is today, I mean, Josh Allen could very well do the same thing against Miami. Like, you know, Miami's defense is kind of starting to slack a little bit. They're playing in the cold in Buffalo. I mean,
They're injured.
So much is going in Buffalo's momentum in this game, which is it's stupid. It's almost, but you can't even feel like it's a trap game at all for anything because Skylar Thompson's over on the other side. Like you're dealing with a Miami team who is cold, in the cold where they don't play well with their third string quarterback. You're talking about the Bills playing now with a chip on their shoulder that they didn't need.
Yep.
You know, they were a damn good football team. They were in the debate for number 1 seed. They are the 2 seed, you know. And then obviously you had the emotional impact of both DeMar Hamlin and the tragedies that happened in Buffalo from the blizzard. You just have so much energy in Buffalo today. I just feel bad for Miami.
Oh yeah,
Like-
that momentum is going to carry. It's Buffalo's been my pick in every bracket I've filled out for the AFC. I don't know. I think the Chiefs are obviously still the Chiefs, but it's playoffs. Who the hell knows?
Did we freeze?
No.
No, we're good.
Okay,
Yeah, my phone.
Cincy has to go through Baltimore's defense, and then assuming they win and Buffalo wins, they got to beat Buffalo, and then would have to beat Kansas City if they're still there, and then get to the Super Bowl, probably hobbling. But I suspect that Buffalo will walk through Miami, have a good game with Cincy, and just overpower them. And then I think it's Buffalo's year to take KC. They're riding that train, and I think it's not gonna stop them.
The hard part with Buffalo
gotta-
KC is that's just one football game though. Like you can sit here and debate everything, but like that's one football game, and it's been proven that whoever gets the ball last in that game is gonna win the game. Like
I do think one of the biggest things that is going to fuck the Bengals throughout their playoff run is the loss of Chidobe Awuzie.
oh yeah,
I think that's really going to affect them. But Cam Britt-Taylor has been stepping up the last 2 weeks.
the big part about the Bengals is I still feel like their defense is good, not great, and doesn't have that playmaking potential. You know what I mean? Because the Bills, at least, even without probably Von Miller, because Von's not playing the rest of the playoffs, right? Like he's out for
He's out
done
for
the year.
season.
Yep. So even then, you still have playmakers on the Bills' defense, like Greg Rousseau coming back.
I mean, Matt Milano's
I mean-
arguably one of the best linebackers in the league this year.
Yeah, Matt Milano's been fantastic, but I'm just saying, even along that front four that they rotate in and out, you have a lot of playmakers
Ed
there.
Oliver.
Yeah.
I love Ed.
And so Buffalo's defense has playmakers. I think you have Chris Jones and a couple of guys on the Chiefs defense who can kind of come up with a play when you need to, specifically Chris Jones, as far as like that superstar. The Bengals just, outside of like what Jesse Bates, who's been a little underwhelming this year on the franchise tag.
I mean, he's injured.
I'd say he was good, not great,
He
where
was
we
injured
usually
till, like,
expect him
week
to be
6, though.
great.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just the hard part with the Bengals is that it might be the crux of what
Trey
killed-
Hendrickson's still good there. Sam Hubbard's back to fully healthy, and you've been seeing that in the last games.
Yeah, but how many times do we see those guys come through defensive? Like their superstars, Joe Burrow. Who on the defense is making that play?
Trey Hendrickson.
Trey Hendrickson's the guy. All right, I'll ride with you on this one.
Trey Hendrickson's one of arguably, I would say, top 10 defensive ends in the league.
Since he's signed with the Bengals, yeah, hands down.
I would even say when he was a Saint.
Last year with the Saints. I mean, before that, obviously, he's still young, still learning and everything, but he really blossomed, I think, with Cincinnati being the prime pass rusher there. Still, though,
Well, and it allowed the fucking Sam Hubbard and who's the kid out of Wyoming that they have? Logan Wilson.
yeah. I liked Logan Wilson.
Still got Von Bell back there too.
I just see Cincinnati's, they're a viable Super Bowl threat, very much so. I just kind of view this being Buffalo, KC, and Cincinnati kind of has to squeeze in there somehow. You know what I mean? Like as far as the AFC goes, it's kind of Buffalo, KC right now. And if somebody else breaks out, hell, it's going to be fun to watch. But I just don't see anybody outside of those three making it to the Super Bowl.
Cincinnati also, with everything that they've blossomed with, even their fourth and fifth pieces this year, I think you can make an argument that they have like the most complete receiving core in the league.
I think so, yeah. I mean,
Like with the way
Yeah.
that Trent Irwin.
I was about to say, yeah, Trent
Irwin
been
and
busting up.
fucking what's the other white one's name? Because they got two of them. They got two little white boys that they switch in. It's Trent Irwin and I think the other one's named Trent too.
Trent Taylor?
Yeah, I think so.
I didn't know they had Trent Taylor too. I guess I've just seen Trent Irwin balling out, but
No,
they have
both of
a
them.
extremely complete receiving core. I think Hayden Hurst has had a little bit of rejuvenation there too at times as well. It'd be nice to see them get like, I mean, if you're gonna nitpick on the offense, obviously line's the big nitpick, but it'd be nice to see him like, maybe grab like a cornerstone tight end too. I feel like Hurst this later end of his like what's he 28, 29?
I think they actually have him slotted to take Michael Myers in the second round.
That'd be a good pick. I don't think he'd last till the second, but I mean later first I could see him still being
I
there
think
when the Bengals
with
pick.
like the way that the new first round regime of tight ends have kind of turned out for the league, and they're seeing these later round ones blossoming and working out better, I think that that's going to kind of fuck over tight end draft stock for a year or two at least.
That's fair.
Like,
we should probably get
Isaiah
back to
Likely-
hold on. Let's get back to the game at hand, and then we can get because we're getting really heavy on Bengals Ravens right now. As far as you mentioned Isaiah Likely, I'm like we're not even to that game yet.
I know. I was just looking for bets on fucking.
Yeah, I guess realistic
Beasley.
world here. I mean, let's just scoot past this one. Buffalo. I mean, I think we're all
Yeah,
in accordance.
Buffalo.
Buffalo with the spread probably.
Yeah, I mean, the money line, the spread's going to be how you make your money there. I think they win by 20.
What's the spread?
14.
Oh, okay.
I think the next one, this is it's not considered prime time. It's more of a mid time. We got an over under of 48 with Vikings at -2.5. And the one thing that the Vikings have that the Giants don't is Justin Jefferson. I think we saw him in the playoffs last year with an early exit. I think he's kind of going to take that Diggs chip on his shoulder and make sure that they at least make it past the first round.
Well, the hard part with the Giants or with Jefferson too is he's kind of been shut down a little bit here recently. I mean, you're talking about against Green Bay, that was kind of an embarrassing loss for a team that ended up not making the playoffs. Getting shut down there, not really having much to play for last week. Like you figured you were going to win against Chicago.
But Jair had to do that to keep his name.
Oh yeah. So I would expect Jefferson to blow up this week, not just on the early exit from last year, but just where the last couple of weeks have been, where he was really hot, and then kind of the last 2
Well,
weeks
he only played the
fizzled
first
down.
quarter last week.
I know, and that's what I'm saying is like he hasn't really balled. He hasn't played. He just hasn't played the fucking game. You know what I mean? Like Jair kind of Jair to a point shut him down. I also think
Jair
the
took the
defense-
record away from him.
I think the defense did a better job of getting a Kirk and everybody than anything, but. Yes, he took the record away from him. and I
Took the
think
record away from him.
Jefferson is going to ball, but I also think that the Giants are gritty. They're matching their coach, and they're going to fight this one. I like Minnesota in this, but
I just don't like the Giants secondary against how ferocious that the Vikings passing attack is going to come out today.
oh yeah, no, I think that will be the difference maker. It'll be a close game, but that's the difference maker right
Yeah.
there. Is the
I
Vikings
like-
passing game.
I like as much as he lacks studs. I like Daniel Jones's chances versus what's been a declining at Minnesota secondary to keep the game within reach.
Well, it's a combo of just really young and then Patrick Peterson, who's declining. Like the rest of them are just really
all of
young
the-
and inexperienced.
and they're like really, really young because their really young starters are all injured. Like Sign has been out most of the year. Harrison Smith might not play today.
It's
Booth has had some issues too.
Saquon Barkley versus Justin Jefferson today.
What's his name? The guy that got drafted with the cornerback that. The guy that got drafted with the cornerback he's game time decision.
What did you just say?
Cameron Dancer.
Oh, yeah, Cam Dantzler.
He's game time decision.
But Peterson's playing, right?
Yeah. He's kind of almost been the focal point of that secondary this year, which is kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Patrick Peterson at like 34 years old.
Yeah. And Stephon Gilmore's still making plays too.
He won us a game in Denver.
Should have came to Vegas. Who would
I
have made
like-
the playoffs?
I don't know. I mean, I've been picking the Giants, and then I've got a couple brackets I filled out where I'm picking the Vikings. Right here, right now, I feel like I kind of like the Giants a little more. But I hate that they're giving the Vikings literally a field goal.
Yeah, that's where I'm at with it. Kirk is, when it comes to one-score games, that's one thing that he hasn't lost this year. If the Vikings lose, the Vikings get their ass beat.
Yeah.
And that's one thing I don't think the Giants can do. I don't think the Giants can put an ass beating on them.
Right. I agree.
I mean, hell, even we put one of the greatest ass beatings in first half football that you've ever seen, and we still managed to come out and lose that game.
The greatest comeback of all time.
So I'm not doubting him.
I wouldn't either. I'm just gonna come out and say I think the Giants will win, but I want the Vikings to win because I don't want to play.
Oh, fuck, if I was you, I'd want to play the Giants all day. Debo and Ayuk will go for 200 apiece.
No, but if the Giants win, they're gonna play Philly. So if Minnesota wins, we play Minnesota. If Giants win, they play Philly. But if the Giants win, then we're playing either Tampa Bay, which I'd love, or Dallas, which I don't want to see. So I don't know.
That does sound like a tough call there.
So I guess I want Minnesota to win.
Do you think the Giants are going to win?
No.
Yeah,
I was about to say I got Minnesota by a little here.
I don't know. I'll say right now, I'll take the Giants. I'm avoiding the spread though.
Moving on to the game that we were already kind of talking about. So you want you to lead us off with Baltimore, Cincinnati.
It is a spread of 40, Bengals 8.5. What it comes down to, I just don't think Tyler Huntley has the juice. We know what Joey Playoff B does when he gets into these situations. I mean, we saw it against what people now consider to be the greatest quarterback in the NFL. He handed him an early ticket back home. In his own home.
Mm-hmm.
So with that being said, and Jamar kind of got held up by Marlon Humphreys the last time that they played. The first game, because obviously he wasn't guarding him that much the second game. I think that Jamar is going to reclaim that Wikipedia page, if you know what I mean.
You just like your boy off for a big game. The hard part about this game is there's not really a lot for... I mean, the Ravens are obviously in the playoffs. They're playing for a spot here. It's really hard to play without Lamar. I think that defense comes a little bit more today. I think that the hard part with the Ravens is you can't count them out in this game. You can't say that like they're a Dolphins, but the Bengals have a very favorable situation. You know, but I mean, that defense, Roquan's fresh off a contract. They might be able to hold the Bengals to where within, if the offense plays a really good game, this could be a game, but I don't think that happens. I think their defense is good, but I mean, you can only hold back for so long when the offense isn't going to produce. I think the Bengals have a good enough defense to really hold the hobbled Ravens back, because you got to think either they're playing with Anthony Brown, their third stringer today, or they're starting Tyler Huntley, who's battled a shoulder injury all season long. Like, that's just between a rock and a hard place like Miami. This is kind of like our second flopper game of the week where playoff teams are starting backups, and it's like, well, all right, this definitely isn't last year's wild card weekend.
Yep, I think we see Joey with a cigar later tonight, but not so much that he.
It's a
earned it
big
in-
game, or
earned
yeah,
it
yeah,
in good fashion, you know.
yeah.
I think they're, some people say the stars shine brighter at night. You got two stars that have shown they like to shine bright at night in big games when things matter. And it's not the first time doing it. It's not their second time doing it. Hell, if it wasn't for a blown call in the Super Bowl, this would be their sixth time doing it.
Right. What I do like is Marcus Peters is back. He's off the injury report, so they'll have Marlon Humphrey and Marcus Peters on the field. Maybe make things fun.
Yeah, I think
I
Jamar
just
will
don't
have a
think
good
Marcus
game, but
Peters has been the same
No.
for years.
Who's your pick, Siggy?
Years. You know who I'm taking.
yeah, Bengals over spread.
I actually don't. I like the spread, but if it comes down to it and somehow the Baltimore manages to stay in this game, they either win by 17 or they win by 3. No in between.
Right. I would have.
So like the spread is either if you're on they're going to win by 17, hammer the spread. If you think that somehow I just also like they just don't have weapons. Like you're going to know that you need to shut down Likely and Andrews, and J.K. Dobbins can only carry the ball so many fucking times.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, not having Hollywood anymore has been devastating for that team.
Well, Rashad Bateman getting injured, Devin Duvernay has played like every other week.
Yep.
I mean, Deshaun Jackson has been like their leading receiver besides Isaiah Likely the last like 4 weeks.
And he's not even with the team anymore.
Well, that offense is just like decimated at this point. Ravens have a long, hard rebuild. They have a great defense to build around. Would not. I'm just gonna say this one before we talk offseason. Would not be crazy to see Lamar leave this offseason. I think there's some tension there, and I think the Ravens. While it sounds stupid to let a superstar quarterback leave, I think in that building they might just be. They've always done things a little bit different of a way. It's kind of worked out for them.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why you can't question it. But it wouldn't surprise me if Lamar was franchised and traded.
Which is extremely unfortunate.
They don't just let him walk, but he's franchised and traded somewhere.
Which is extremely unfortunate because obviously I'm a fucking Harbaugh fan. And I feel like those two probably have a good connection, good relationship. But everything above Harbaugh in the office is fucking stupid.
Oh yeah, that's the problem. Is when it comes down to it, Lamar, I think wants Deshaun. A Deshaun style contract, and the ownership isn't Browns level stupid.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, but no quarterback to me is. If I was a GM, no quarterback is worth that in comparison to the rest of the roster.
Yeah.
Started with
Unless
Kirk.
their last name is Mahomes.
Started with Kirk.
Yep. Well, yeah. I mean, and Kirk, big victory, but I don't think it. Deshaun, with his contract being so high and so guaranteed, like I'm down with fully guaranteed contracts, but at that point, like let's talk about, because if you're looking at a realistic guaranteed contract, like they're on the books every year, and you are paying a substantial amount of dead money to get them off the books if you're ever trading them. Like that's why it's a guaranteed contract.
Yep.
You know, in the NBA, obviously you have the flexibility. Maybe they make that in the NFL where contracts aren't guaranteed specifically to the teams, and the dead money, just the bonuses are. However the fuck you work that out, but like, at the end of the day, it's handicapping teams. I think it's great for the quarterbacks, but it's shitty for the rest of the players, and it's really handicapping football teams. I think the best way to really get around this is to raise the salary cap a lot more, but NFL owners won't do that, so because they like their profits.
Inflation.
Yep. But anyways, let's get to the last game. That one that's going to be actually a little bit competitive here this wild card weekend outside of Minnesota, New York. Why don't you lead us off with the Cowboys and the Buccaneers?
You think that one's going to be competitive?
I think so, yeah, dude. Tom's been looking a little bit better, and don't rule out Tom Brady in the
I just
playoffs.
think
If he
Dak's
gets destroyed,
looked
cool.
worse.
That's what I mean. Is like the Cowboys aren't exactly unbeatable.
I'm on Tyler's train. Like Dak has been straight fucking dog shit.
Yep. It's I'm not I have no worries in the world about watching the San Francisco 49ers defense play the Cowboys offense. I'm slightly worried about their
Dallas defense. Yeah, the Dallas defense is good, but
I think Mike Evans is gonna route up Trayvon Diggs like the rest of everyone has been doing for the last 4 weeks.
I'd love it.
AJ Brown ate him for lunch with Gardner Minshew as his quarterback.
Yep. I'm taking
the Bucks.
I think I've
money
taken
line.
I've taken the Bucks everywhere as far as
I'd be
picks go. But
plus Tom Brady. Is what 6-0 against the Cowboys.
7-0.
7-0, never lost.
Never played in the playoffs, but never lost.
So expect a big game from Cade Naughton if Kyle Rudolph is questionable now.
Yeah, Kyle Rudolph's questionable, but I'm pretty sure his whole receiving core is there. Is Julio playing?
It's everyone, and there's no receivers on here.
I think this is the healthiest the Bucs have been since like week 1 or 2.
Fournette had a decent little pop towards the end of the season there.
Yeah, I mean, let's be honest. Someone was talking about it. How Micah Parsons has had one of the biggest fall-offs on the second half in the season.
He did.
Yeah, he was Defensive Player of the Year.
He had 11 and a half sacks in the first 9 games.
Mm-hmm.
He ended with 15 total.
Yep, I think because this other fantasy league I'm in, we start one IDP, and the IDPs I had were Micah Parsons and Roquan Smith, and every year I was like, oh, it's Micah Parsons, and he's playing an NFC East opponent, like, fuck yeah.
And then he fell off.
And he would get me 2.5, 3 points, and Roquan Smith's on my bench with 11.
So with that being said, and plus, dude, it's playoff Tom. Tom doesn't exit in the first round.
Yep.
Unless it's against the Titans.
I'm glad to see
It's
that.
kind of an old coach thing, though. That was a coach versus coach deal.
Yeah. But to see
I wouldn't blame that one on Tom.
To see Tom's connection with Mike Evans return in that last week with 3 touchdowns.
That was a good little warm up for them.
Yeah.
It's kind of nice to get that going.
Oh,
before the
I
playoffs.
think
After
yeah,
about a month of nothing.
I mean, dude, I honestly think that he was just like, guys, we're in the NFC South. We don't have to win every game.
Mm-hmm.
Just get me the fucking show.
Yeah.
At this point, yeah, with old Tom Brady, you have to realistically plan in the fact of, yeah, it's amazing he's made it to 45, but there's a reason he has.
Like, dude, he could almost they could almost fucking do load management with Tom Brady if they wanted to.
Right.
He could have been the NFL's Kawhi Leonard this year. Like,
Yeah,
they could have just started a quarterback.
It's like, all right, Kyle Trask, we're playing the shitty Saints today. Go in, take him out.
I think last week, because you're coming in with such a low record, though, and you've been so hurt, I think they needed to play the starters last week, get a little bit of that momentum going, get the juice that they did. Now that they did, I think that spells a lot worse for Dallas than it would have if they would have just sat him and kind of coasted into the playoffs. Hard part is, though, this kind of feels like Tom's last ride in Tampa Bay. It feels like no matter where he goes
It's
next
been
year,
reported that there's 3 different teams that he's open or linked to right now, and possibly returning to Tampa. So there's 4 teams.
I think going from Arians to Bowles kind of shifted.
is a drop off because you're going from Arians' offense to Byron Leftwich, who's a respectable coordinator, but Bruce Arians, even though he's a dickhead of an NFL head coach, is a great offensive coordinator.
It's a quarterback whisperer for sure.
Yep, he is. So,
one thing I
I
want
like Tom in this one, though. I really do. I really like Tom in this one.
I don't trust Dak.
I don't trust the Cowboys and Dak. Like, they just this Cowboys
I trust
team
Tony
is-
Pollard. That's it.
Pretty
yeah,
much.
but he's a free agent after this year. So, I mean, what else besides the same old Cowboys? One backup running back isn't going to make the world of a difference.
Yeah, because they're not going to let Zeke go and then keep Pollard. They're going to let Pollard go and get what they can out of him and then let Zeke be
Well, 'cause you
big.
can't
I
trade
mean, I'm
Zeke's
pretty sure
contract.
that Jerry Jones was on that. He said Pollard's not going anywhere. He'll get what he'll get what he needs.
Really? All right.
I mean, that would be smart
Eat,
to
boy.
keep him there because,
Well,
like,
dude, think about
That's
it,
where you've
dude.
seen
The
your best
entire-
success.
The entire NFL, and this was like one thing that I had an argument about with someone the other day, because we were talking about this guy is gonna do he wants co-owned league teams, so 2 owners per team, and he was like, so who would you take first? And I was like, is it Superflex or this? I was like, I'm taking either the best quarterback available, depending on what pick I'm at, or I'm taking one of the number 1 receivers. And he goes, wrong. He goes, I would take a number 1 running back. And I go, after this year, you don't have a number 1 running back.
Nope.
Like, there's been multiple weeks this
Christian
season.
McCaffrey. Christian McCaffrey's still running back 1 to me.
I mean, but there have been multiple weeks this season where players have been run by committee where the second running back has outscored the starter. Alexander Madison did it to Dalvin Cook twice. Jalen Warren did it to Najee Harris about 4 times. You had the Chuba Hubbard and Donta Foreman game where they would bounce back and forth every other fucking week. You had Raheem Mostert and Jeff Wilson who could go off for 100 together. Like, it's just switching. I mean, hell, even Wayne Gallman outscored Saquon one week.
The problem, though, is like the Cowboys are setting that mark, which is popular, but it still doesn't.
I mean, it's been around
still
forever.
doesn't-
It's
it
just
still doesn't-
shifting that way.
For the majority of the league, but there's still teams out there with running back ones. Like, you can't tell me, even though Elijah Mitchell's a good backup, that you still can't count on Christian McCaffrey now with the Niners every single game.
You can,
or Josh
but what
Jacobs
I'm
and
saying is
Saquon
it's
aren't still
switching
viable
to, I'm
fantasy
saying
options.
it's switching to where you can switch off every other down or every 2 downs to keep a fresh leg in there. You have less of a chance of injuring your star guy because your second guy's only a couple steps behind him.
I'm going to call out the one extremely unexpected one that you missed, Jamal Williams.
Oh, yeah.
No, Jamie Williams and DeAndre. Well, because
Yeah.
even
But
then,
Jamal
Jamie
ended
went
up
off.
Jamal ended up like becoming the full-time starter after week
Basically,
3.
yeah, but like, God, DeAndre Swift was getting drafted, end of the first round in fantasy drafts?
Yeah, Jamal Williams was going undrafted.
Yeah. And did he get the touchdown title or did he just miss it?
I think he got it.
He got the touchdown title, yeah.
Crazy.
Because I don't think Kelsey got enough touchdowns to keep up with
Or
him the past
fuck,
couple
AJ
weeks.
Dillon and fucking, like, the list goes on. I think that the whole league is going to be switched towards, and even with the rookie running backs that we're going to be seeing next year.
With a few exceptions.
Bijan Robinson, CJ Deuce.
But with a few
I would
exceptions.
say Alvin Kamara is, like, the only outlier that doesn't have a second one behind him really running hard.
Anymore.
Like, hell, you even had Samaje Perine kind of almost doing some
But I
shit
don't think
to
this
be
is
like,
this isn't running back by committee though. This just speaks to the talent that's at the running
dual
back
dual
position
backfield.
and
Yes.
what you're seeing in the dual or by the committee system in a lot of places is they have running backs who are very close in talent. That's what's happening here in Dallas. Is you have Tony Pollard and Zeke, who if you put them like Madden overall, they're different type of players, but they're roughly about the same impact on the game. Zeke's still a great running back, so is Tony Pollard. The thing is, though, is what you're seeing a lot of teams try to do what like more of the Niners are doing. You have a great running back one, but you then have a running back 2 that you can consistently feature in the offense.
Would be a plug and play RB1.
Yeah, then you fuck around and you find out like the Cowboys that you just have 2 great running backs, and now it's like, I don't think it's crazy with what running backs are valued at to keep Pollard. Like, I don't think.
No, but
Just from history, maybe I don't think that they do, but it would make sense because like how often do you pay your second wide receiver $10? Well, now if the running back 2 is getting the same usage as a wide receiver
salary
2,
cap's only going up.
Yep.
It's supposed to go up 22% this year.
running backs roughly their value is just a little bit less than wide receivers, but I don't think they have this huge drop off and they have more talent.
Valued more.
Well, yeah, but then the league went super pass happy,
And then it always cycles.
Oh,
So
yeah.
eventually we're gonna go back to where you have do you guys remember when the Giants had 3?
Dude, Doug Peterson
great-
brought out the triple T last night. Anything is fucking
I was gonna
possible
say, do you
anymore.
remember when the Giants had Earth, Wind, and Fire? It was Brandon Jacobs, Ramon Bradshaw, and Ruben Drowns. Like, that little threesome could fucking run through anybody. Like, Eli Manning could literally go through an entire game, not have to pass the ball, and they would still score.
It's just, I think it started at least recently with the Packers when they had.
I actually think it started with Shanahan. When you were running Elijah Mitchell.
I don't think it started anywhere. Running back by
Elijah
committee's
Mitchell,
been a thing.
I
It's
mean,
just
but
growing
like-
in popularity
But, like,
now.
bringing it back. I mean, I
Yeah.
think it started with, like, the Elijah Mitchell, Jerick McKinnon,
Yeah.
Jeff Wilson.
Well, before that,
Mostert.
Before that, didn't they have Dalvin Cook and Jerick McKinnon and Alexander Madison all in the same backfield in Minnesota, though?
yes.
But
But before
49ers
that, you
had
had
Jerick
Aaron Jones
McKinnon.
and Jamal Williams sharing that backfield. And then you go fast forward to Shanahan, who was doing it with undrafted dudes like Raheem Mostert, and still is doing it with like bottom of the draft guys, which is fantastic to see. And I think, like we said, it's gonna be, it's gonna happen more and more. We're gonna see other teams doing it, whether it's Dallas, whether it's Detroit, or whoever running a more evenly split backfield. Or
I just think you're going to have more fresh legs, and you're going to
Yes.
see a little more running in.
However,
especially with like the rookies that we have coming in this year. Like you got Vaughn from K-State, the kid from TCU,
Dude,
Bajan Robinson from Texas. Like, the league's gonna be in good hands.
Yep. I'm just gonna play my bias card though, because I'm happy that no other team has the combination of Kittle and Juszczyk to block for those running backs.
Well, duh.
That's fair.
Juszczyk will go in the Hall of Fame just strictly for like his blocking and like playmaking ability.
I love that guy.
He's been one of the only like fairly utilized fullbacks of the last decade.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Like, there's not a lot of dudes who have consistently made that impact in the last decade. You know, fullback's been kind of a dying position. Still has places in offenses, but you know, it's more of an H-back tight end role. You
To
know,
be
definitely like the true
You don't have
fullback
like a
is kind of
Lorenzo
dead.
Neal anymore or
Yeah.
Yeah, you
Allscott.
well, even Allstott to a point was a weapon. But Allstott was kind of actually more so, even though he's the ultimate fullback and people look at this, he was almost the death of it because he was too versatile. Mike Allstott was running flat routes. Mike Allstott was taking pitches. Mike Allstott was going in motion on blocks.
Stealing
He was
all
just-
of Workman's touchdowns.
Yeah, he was just a bad motherfucker. So, like, when you see that, oh, the fullback can have an impact. The problem is now those guys, the H-back has kind of replaced that, the second tight end.
Well, yeah,
you
the
know?
second tight end has just become a fullback.
Yeah, essentially. So offenses still have that guy, that tertiary receiver blocker type, who's, you know, both a third option in the running, like blocking game and the passing game. That's who it is. The fullback's just become a tight end too in most offenses.
I was just having that conversation with Jay Siglin about how underutilized Derek Watt is.
oh, hands
yeah.
down.
No, I love Juszczyk, and what a hell of a acquisition for Kyle to bring with him from Atlanta. And I think honestly that had he not gotten suspended this season, the Niners would have moved on Ridley. That didn't work out, and we got McCaffrey instead, not complaining. But I wouldn't have been surprised to see the Niners pursue Ridley.
Interesting. Let's finish up the picks for the Cowboys game, though, because I'm the only one who's picked so far.
No,
I
we
picked.
literally all said Cowboys.
Did you?
That's
Oh,
why
Bucks.
that's
Yeah,
why
fuck
we
you,
moved
Bucks.
on. That's why we moved on to off seasons.
I didn't catch that.
We've all said Bucks. I don't know why we said Cowboys. We all said the Cowboys are going to lose. That is what we said.
Yes.
But, and then also, I do want to say the one thing that I was shocked about from going into the playoffs, the John Ross signing.
Oh, yeah.
That's interesting.
I don't like that at all.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
Because you essentially gave Patrick Mahomes mini Tyreek. The only player that is literally proven to be faster than Tyreek Hill.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but he hasn't ever put it together. Like, the problem is, though, is Tyreek.
He
Tyreek
Fucking
is so
Andy
much.
Dalton at the latter end of his career.
Yeah,
he
but
couldn't fucking hit the broadside of a barn.
Okay, but Tyreek is now in two separate. Like, it's just because the man can run in a straight line as fast as Tyreek Hill does not mean he has the innate playmaking
No, I
ability
feel
of
you. I'm
Tyreek
just
Hill.
saying,
But yeah,
take
like
the top
yeah.
off.
Yeah, but they already got Kadarius Toney's more of a fair comparison, even though size-wise it's not a comparison. But as far as playmaking ability, Toney was already a cheat code for that offense. John Ross is honestly just a distraction. Just send him on a streak, and if someone fails to cover him, there's your touchdown.
I like Tony getting utilized, and the whole thing this whole season obviously has been Kansas City not having Tyreek Hill anymore, but they still have fucking Mecole Hardman, and they have Marquez Valdez-Scantling, who both have that fucking speed as well.
I've always thought John Ross was one of the greatest what-if stories in the NFL.
Yeah. I like that.
I can agree with that. I can get down with that.
What also ever happened to Trey Sermon? Is he like the biggest bust of the 20s so far?
Not really. He was a fourth, fifth round pick. Like Sermon, he's just with the Eagles right now, and they
Yeah,
have
let's
a
say he
really
went to
loaded
Philly.
backfield. I mean, he's gotten some touches for like Philadelphia here and there, but the problem is like he's just been in the wrong situations. Like first you're talking about in San Francisco in a loaded ass backfield. Now you're talking about in the Eagles with the loaded ass backfield. Like
Yeah, but in
a lot of
that
guys just don't get their
loaded-ass
chance to
backfield,
shine.
If you can show Shanahan that you got something, you get a carrier too.
Yeah.
Well, Sermon isn't exactly. I don't think he's a top level back or anything. We just have a lot of cards of his
also-
that could sell really well if he blew up. So
Not even that. He also just had that phenomenal end game to not go to the championship, but the
Yeah.
numbers they put up are just still impressive.
It's just the 49ers went from had a loaded backfield, dumped the clip, and still have a loaded backfield, sending Hasty to Jacksonville and Sermon to Philly, and Raheem and Wilson both went to Miami. That's 4 whole running backs, and we still have arguably, or not arguably, more talent than we did.
Just start answering the phone. Kyle Shanahan's running back factory. How can I help you?
Basically.
Yeah.
Damn.
Yep. What's that? Yep. Okay. Yep. Shifty. Yep. Dual threat running back. Yep. Okay. Yep. You'll have that in 6 months when we cut him. All right. Sounds good. Thank you. Bye. See, let's talk about you though. Let's talk about them Colts. As I put my belly in the screen here. Let's talk them Colts. What are you doing this offseason?
How long till you get Justin Herbert?
Shit. You're unrealistic.
Dude, if we got Justin Herbert, I'm coming to the moon. But
That was more a Matt Ryan joke than a Colts joke, I guess.
No, Justin Herbert's not old enough yet. 2032, they'll grab Justin Herbert.
I want Levis. I'm just gonna say it. I don't even want to fucking trade up to go after Bryce Young. I want Will Levis. Will Levis gives me. There's just something when you watch him throw a ball and you're like, that's an NFL arm.
Well, yeah.
Which one's the
Mayo guy.
the bigger, more athletic one?
Levis?
Okay, I
It's
thought
Levis.
so.
That's who I want. They think that
Levis is the white boy.
if I don't get
Which is weird that
Levis,
the white one's the most athletic in the draft class for once.
if we don't get Levis, my pipe dream is trade the 4 overall pick for Justin Fields.
The problem is, though, is the number 1 overall pick, if you get Bryce Young or you trade up to get the quarterback that you want, I think you guys are the most realistic team because the Bears, the way this draft class is kind of shaping out is you have your 2 elite defensive players, and then you have, depending where you grade the quarterbacks, because...
I would say 3 elite defensive players.
Who's your third?
Keely Ringo.
I hold a shade below because my shade is actually really a half shade in traditional marks. It's just more like they just don't quite hit elite for me. Like I hold back from calling them elite because guys like Peter Skoronski, Keely Ringo's a phenomenal player. I think Miles Murphy has the intangibles.
I think Keely Ringo's just
Like,
disgusting. He may
to
not
play, but
put up,
Christian
the numbers
Gonzalez
like
is-
Sauce did, but
Yeah, but Christian Gonzalez is actually probably, in my opinion, a better cover corner. Keely Ringo is, they're both aggressive players.
Keely Ringo's got that ball hawk.
That's true. But what I'm saying, though, is in the draft here, if you're the Bears and you're trading down, the Colts make sense because after Jalen Carter and Will Anderson, and then you assume if you're trading with the
get one of
Colts,
those, yeah.
you're going to get one of the defensive players. I think that's not a hot take. That's pretty much the
Personally,
wide
I
one.
don't want to trade with the Bears unless they come out and just be like, Bryce Young had such an amazing pro day that we're moving on from Fields.
What more do you need? Like, Bryce Young, I think, will get shaded out of the number 1 pick potentially, and it is crazy to me.
Polls basically said that if his pro day is as impressive as it's supposed to be, and with the whole rebuilding structure they're going in, he wasn't the GM that brought Fields in, so he has no real alliance to him, as we've learned that GMs like to do, is clean house of what the
And
other
get
guy
their
did.
guy, yeah.
So if he impresses like he thinks he's going to, and they take him, the only way I want to trade with the Bears would be if we're getting Fields. I really don't want to trade up. I don't want to lose an extra pick to go select the first quarterback when I think the second quarterback is just as good and more NFL ready just due to size.
So is your board right now Young?
It's Young
Levis, Stroud?
Well,
And
we
Stroud
don't-
hasn't
we don't know
technically,
about
yeah.
Stroud until tomorrow.
That's fair.
I mean, dude, when you're offered $7 million to come back and continue to run the team that you know how to run, add a few more pieces, lose a couple pieces, but you have one of the number 1 defensive recruiting classes coming in next year, I don't know why you wouldn't stay back.
Because it's the NFL, and as a top 10 pick, you'll make.
But he's still gonna be slighted.
Yeah, but the
to
hard
be-
part is
he could
Caleb
be slighted
Williams-
to be number 1 next year. or
Caleb
number 2.
Williams, Caleb Williams, I think would be the number 1 pick this year, right now. Like, unless Caleb Williams falls off next year, you have to assume that man's the number 1 pick next year. Like, just like kind of we've been. Bryce Young had this like little room to where people like someone could have usurped him.
But
So
if
CJ
CJ
Stroud could have
wins
played
that
better.
national championship that he's chasing after, plus also if he goes back one more year, he sets literally all of the Buckeyes records.
Yeah, but still, then Caleb Williams is a prospect. I just don't see CJ Stroud being the player that he is, jumping as a prospect. He might be better for it, cool. But right now, I mean, what's your difference? $7 million to go back to college, or as a top 10 pick, you're making that anyways?
Something. I don't disagree with you, but I'm saying for whatever reason, it has enticed him enough not to declare for the draft just yet when everyone else has been offered all of these same deals, and they're like, nah, fuck you, I'm out.
That's fair. That's fair.
So you saying you think the Colts stay at 4 or they move away from 4?
I think if we were to trade, it would be up to number 1, but I would preferably rather stay at 4 or get Fields. Hell, they're actually talking about us trying to go after Lance, but I don't think that we want to deal with another quarterback coming off of an injury.
Fair.
I think Jim's a little bitten by that one.
You think?
Because at the point, it's like, I mean, I get Fields because of the appeal, and I would think that would be a good move for you guys. The only thing I sit here and I think about is, do you want to draft somebody that you can just naturally, like, because you're going fresh head coach, like, do you want to draft somebody that you can morph? Because if you're going young quarterback at this point,
Bro,
why not just draft a guy?
the only reason why our receivers didn't have a good season was our quarterback couldn't throw it over 20 yards. You give Will Levis a weapon like Alec Pierce, who can take the top off of a defense, Michael Pittman, who can catch the ball and get open. You have 2 6'7" fucking tight ends.
Jelani Woods balled this year, as I thought he would.
Mo Alley Cox had quietly one of his best seasons before the injury.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, I think it's just the ceiling's got to go up. We can't keep doing this mediocre rent-a-guy shit. It just doesn't work for us. Like, honestly, I think where we fucked up was getting rid of Brissett that last year when we went 10-6 and he took us to the playoffs.
Oh yeah, I said that then.
We should have should have rode with Brissett for one more year, either seen what he did and then went after the quarterback market.
Well,
But
because
they're
you lost.
no, let's try Phillip Rivers. Let's try Carson Wentz. Let's try Matt Ryan, who forgot how to hold a fucking football. Like,
there's an interesting amount of.
and then the other thing is like when you're throwing these young guys in, like Jacob Eason, when they threw him in last year, he hadn't seen a down of football in almost a calendar year. He was green as fuck. Like, it's like if you're going to throw these guys in, you got to throw them in early. Like, if that's the decision you want to make, you got to make that decision.
Well, here's another question then, because this is something that is starting to be entertained more, but with the past interest, you have to think that it's there because of the way the league evaluates one Derek Carr. I don't think in your situation you guys trade the 4th pick, but what about a crazy situation where you give up some capital and then there's a 4-7 swap and you get a guy who still has some miles left and, I mean, ideally could run your offense. Like, I
hate to say it, I think with his play this year, he's played himself out of potentially a first-round swap or a first-round pick. I think you would get a second, maybe a third for him, kind of like the same as a Carson Wentz deal.
Yeah, but Carson Wentz turned into a first. You got, like Carson Wentz had that, it was a second rounder.
Literally because Frank Reich's a fucking idiot.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, like, I am not passing on Dave
But
Ziegler
also
to
the
not
other-
find another
also the
idiot
other issue-
out there.
Also, the other issue, though, is, like, you wouldn't make that deal with Derek Carr because it's not like he has fucking injury issues. The only injury he had was one that took him out.
I think
It's
this
not
year.
like you have, like, a foot where he's missing a week and then he's gone for a week, you know?
Well, there's a lot of actually energy and attention to the fact if he might have actually had a back broken rib, which to a quarterback is playable but very much a performance affector. So I think that's where I'm not copping out. He had a bad year. As far as reasons behind that, I think at this point the problem with Derek is too many cooks in the kitchen. Like, you've had Josh McDaniels there, who I think we can have success with on the offensive end, because as much as you blame McDaniels as the head coach, he deserves the blame as the head coach. When you actually critique it down to how the teams ran, I don't think he's been our problem. The problem is in the second half, a lot of times, like, Bill Williamson for the Las Vegas Review was the first one to kind of bring this up. There was a lot of games where Derek was, in the second half, we went very conservative because we had to. Not because McDaniels wanted to be conservative, but because that's what the play calling had to call for, and it just ended up not working out for us. Patrick Graham's system is that of one on defense where you even saw with the Giants, his first year, they were the 23rd ranked defense. The next year, they were the 12th. This year, without him gone, they even took another step up, but he was making a good defense. The problem is we had injuries. We had too many people, like, not playing well, but there was a small capsule in the middle of the season when we started to kind of make that playoff run where the
What was
defense
it,
was
dude?
healthy.
If you guys could have just held on to your leads, what was it?
We were a
You
playoff team, I know,
you were
trust me.
You were the sixth seed, the fifth seed.
Yep.
It was like if all of your 17-point leads were flipped into wins.
Oh, not even that. We need two of what the six. Two of the six losses, if just 1/3 of them, two of the six would have been reversed, we would have made the playoffs. Like,
But I
so
was saying,
we're
like,
not
if all of
far.
them, but I'm saying if all of those games, like if you just would have maintained
Yeah.
those leads, you guys were like the fifth seed, just because you had one less loss.
Yeah, and I think, I don't know, you go back and I'm like, if Carr's hurt, then why weren't we playing Stidham then? Seeing what Stidham could do at least against the Niners. Obviously not the answer, but like, seeing what he was able to do in that system with that offense around him. It's frustrating this year. I don't have high hopes going forward. Obviously I want McDaniels to improve. He's going to be our coach. I just have to swallow that.
So our final order of business is where you guys think Hop goes.
Jacksonville. It's scary to think of, but Jacksonville. Zay Jones is only on a 2-year deal, which has a cheap out. Even then, you're talking about depth on defense.
I think the Bears 33rd pick.
Problem is the Bears don't have a second rounder. They gave that up. It's the 32nd because of the forfeited Dolphins pick, and they gave that up because of Chase Claypool. That's going to the Steelers. Steelers have technically the first pick of the second round, which because of the forfeit.
Well, then I think they trade the second round pick that they got from the Ravens.
The problem is though is D-Hop. I think he's going to have a little bit to save where he goes, and I don't think he wants to play for a young team.
He has a no trade clause in his contract.
Oh, he does. So yeah, but I don't think he goes to a rebuilding team. He wants to win a title.
He's gonna have to have a say in it, but also, I mean, the Bears are kind of in that same boat. Like if you just flip, like a lot of their losses were only one score.
Yeah, but their defense is horrid. Like when you look at the Bears, no offense, they're not a team that
they went on a fire sale. Ryan Poles is getting. I mean,
which was smart, honestly, if you're looking back, because now they have picks
cap
and
space
cap
going
space.
into this season than any team has had in the last 8 years.
Yeah, they're at 107 million. I think of over.
118.
Well, I know over the cap was saying 107 right now, and it's looking like with restructuring and the way everything's going to go, it's going to be somewhere near that 120 million mark.
I was going to say, I just saw one that was the other day, and they were at 118, and you guys, after the whole potential car thing or whatever happens, you guys are up to like 67.
Yeah, 67 like 0.4 or whatever is like, I think the number we can get to if we trade or cut early. With Carr, which just sounds like there's a lot of interest already kind of brewing up. I don't know about a first round pick. Like I said, for me, I just want some sort of value back. I just don't want us to cut him.
I just hope Jim Irsay writes Matt like a $15 million check and says, go enjoy your life. Because that'll open up so much fucking cap space for us. But he has to retire because if we cut him or anything like that, it kills a fuck ton of dead cap space.
I'm trying to put Matt Ryan out to pasture, and he's like, but I still want to play, coach, but we don't want you to play, Matt.
I don't think anyone wants you to play Matt.
Hopkins goes to Cleveland.
He could.
It's not always rolled out. He and Deshaun had success.
I was going to say, it wasn't like he left Cleveland because of him and Deshaun were problems. He left Cleveland, or he left the Texans because the Texans wouldn't pay him.
Yep. Deshaun played probably about how most people expected him to after the time off.
He improved every week.
Yeah.
I was about to say,
He looked like a rookie again.
Every week, all personal feelings aside,
coming back.
He missed the whole training camp and whatever. Like he'll have a whole.
Last year he was playing free safety in the Texans training camp. He hasn't played football at the quarterback position in almost 2 full years.
Yeah.
Like that's the crazy part is like personal feelings aside, like he has not played football in a long time.
Right.
It's going to take a second to get that back. Even next year, if he struggles early, I wouldn't be surprised.
Back in the swing.
I think next year it's gonna be almost like his sophomore season with the Texans again, where he was like the best fucking football player for the first 4 weeks.
He's the best, or he's back in the swing of things.
He's still Deshaun fucking Watson.
Been on the field. He'll have a full round of OTAs and all that.
Him and Amari were connecting, getting some fucking chemistry at the end. Devin Peoples-Jones blew up.
Cleveland's Jacoby Brissett doesn't really matter whether they keep him or lose him because Deshaun's starting. Cleveland's most likely about to lose.
They signed him to a 2-year deal though, just in case.
Did they sign Brissett? Oh well then, but they are about to lose Kareem Hunt. Most likely, I doubt they.
Oh no, he's gone. Sorry, he's gone.
He wants to go somewhere where he can be the main feature back.
So I wouldn't be surprised for them to try to replace that talent.
I wouldn't
somehow.
be surprised if Tyreek tried to get him to come to Miami.
I like that. I like that a lot.
It's kind of sad that Jacoby's never gotten like a full year to start somewhere though, because he was starting to do some shit
Colts
with the
10-6.
Browns earlier. But like even then, was he the start of the full year? Because I thought in the beginning of the year.
Andrew Luck retired right in the preseason.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, you guys
Oh,
were
yeah.
kind of forced to roll.
That's
with
how
him.
that lined up. I forgot.
And Brissett, Andrew Luck, the guy that he is, he told Brissett 2 days before he even announced it. He was like, "Hey, this is like yours now."
They don't know. They don't have him under contract. He's Brissett's a free agent.
For 2.
Nope, he's a free agent. So add that to the list. Crazy world. Honestly, I don't hate this one for like a cheap option. The Raiders draft a quarterback and then sit him for a year, and then they bring Jacoby Brissett in as a stopgap for a year in that offense. Not what I want, but at this point, I'm starting to have to stomach a lot of things and just brace myself for what's going to happen. Because what I want to happen,
Where do you think
Won't
Brandon
happen.
Jacobs goes? Or Josh Jacobs goes?
he stays. He stays.
Are you sure?
Yeah, he said he's wanted to stay. McDaniel said he wants him to stay. I think we work out a deal somewhere around probably the 13 to 15 million a year mark, 3 years, mostly guaranteed.
Were you not
After-
getting the same body language I got out of his exit interview?
That he's pissed off and disappointed in this year.
When he was like, "I don't know what more I could do." I could have swore he basically said in the interview where he said, "I'm gone."
No. If you're talking about the post-Niners one, like, yeah, he was frustrated, but then he literally came back the next day or 2 days later in Raiders training camp and was like, hey, I want to stay here long term. I want to get a deal done. I want to be a Raider. He's like, I don't know what the future holds. Obviously we'll see what happens in the offseason, but he's like, if it was up to me, I'd be a Raider. And then the next day, Devontae came out and pretty much publicly said, I'm a Raider. He's like, I wanted to be a Raider before Derek played here. Obviously that was the
Just
reason I
childhood
came
team.
here, but... Dude, Devontae grew up in Northern California.
His childhood team.
Yeah, like
He is literally fulfilling out the final steps of like his dream of being in the NFL.
yeah, and it's like, well,
Which,
it's
like,
not
honestly,
with Derek.
It kind of throws me off that like more players, honestly, like
Don't-
if I got drafted by if I was ever in the NFL and I got drafted by somewhere and the chance ever came around to where I could go play for like the team that I rooted for as like a child. I
The only hard part is, do you
fucking
view that team
eye.
differently when you're a pro? Like, I'm sure Brady views the Niners a little differently than he did as a kid. After he's had to go
I
up
bet you
against
after
him.
Brady's out of the NFL, he roots for the Niners and the Bucks more than he'll root for the Patriots.
That's fair.
There are 15 quarterbacks that were starters for anywhere from one game to most of the season this season. 15 quarterbacks that started games this season that are all free agents.
It's going to be a wild off season. So let's do some run through here before we kind of get
Jimmy
ready.
Garoppolo to the Jets.
Jimmy to the Jets. Where do you think Brady goes?
If they win, he stays put.
If they win the Super Bowl.
Yes. If they win the Super Bowl, he stays put for one more year. If they lose, Oakland doesn't have enough money to pay him.
Vegas.
Whatever.
Bullshit.
Brady's
We're sitting right now with $30 million heading into the offseason before Derek Carr.
You're gonna still need to get some other pieces.
Okay, but let's just do this with here. Quarterbacks contract. This year, Tom Brady is making $25 million a year. So
That's because he took a discount.
he has every single year. So
Except for his
let's
first
maybe
Except for his first year with the Bucks, it was the only time he was one of the highest paid quarterbacks in the NFL.
yeah, that's fair. But even then, if we're playing like cap calculator here, like trust me, I've taken a look at the Raiders. If we're talking about bare minimum, we get rid of Derek Carr. And pretty much so far, the energy indicates that salary cap is the first priority. Compensation is the second priority with Carr. So we're going to cut him if we have to. It's the
Yeah.
worst case scenario regarding Derek Carr, but we're going to cut him if we have to. That immediately puts us at like 60 million, 65 million.
I also
On top of that, we have restructurable contracts. Chandler Jones is only on a 2-year. We can restructure or cut him after June 1st and save a lot of money. We have money to move around on the table in order to do what we need to do.
on Brady's.
I don't think he ends up as a 49er just because they have too much going on there. I know, like, that's the dream scenario. Everyone's saying it right now because it's been the dream scenario for years.
Mhm.
If he was going to do it, he would have fucking done it by now.
Oh yeah, it would have been accomplished.
Plain and simple.
Him
So-
and Rodgers.
Yeah, so with that being said, I think it's either going to be Miami or Las Vegas if he leaves. But like I said, if they win the Super Bowl, he stays. And
The hard part is, it's like you're talking cap space. Like we're just sitting here right now. This is overthecap.com. Dolphins are projected $5 million over. Like we're talking teams Brady can go to. The Raiders are like the ninth most cap space.
They're going to be restructuring Tyreek's deal.
Well, they're going to be restructuring
everybody.
Everybody.
Well, yeah, I mean,
they have to.
They overspent. What'd they spend? Like $400 million in the first week?
Yeah, but this is what you anticipate though with anymore. Like all these contracts are restructurable.
Oh yeah. They've literally, it's fake money nowadays.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even think that they have to win the Super Bowl for Brady to stay. I mean, if they beat the Cowboys, I think he stays.
I think that they would have to win they would have to get to the Super Bowl for him to stay. If they don't finish the journey that he is on, because I honestly think that he feels like he fucked up when he didn't retire when he won that last one, and he literally wants to win one and retire
on a win.
The problem though is like the Bucks are also suffering from probably, if it's on here, this is the second.
They also have the most magic cap wizard in
Yeah.
the entire fucking
Well, I was about to say,
league.
but yeah, they're also, they're going to need that magic cap wizard because they're 43 million over as of now.
Dude,
They're
they
going to
were
lose guys like Jamel
60
Dean.
They were like 66 million over 2 years ago, and they managed to get to like 28 positive.
Well, I think we also remember the Saints' miraculous 108 million last year. They still somehow had an off season, so
yeah, it's crazy. It's just, so you need to pay this as a signing bonus. All right.
Here we go.
The Bucks are looking at Levante David, Akeem Hicks, Julio Jones.
I don't think Akeem Hicks or Julio stays.
I don't think Levante does either. That's a lot of money you're gonna have to pay him.
Yeah,
He's still
he's
gonna
on
demand.
the back end of his career.
No other
You'll
real.
let him go to a worse team for
Honestly,
premium.
It's not the craziest thing. He's actually a really high target signing for Vegas, just because obviously McDaniels and Ziegler want that title window to still be now, and having someone like David who's going to be 31 or 32 is older, but would be good as a pass coverage off linebacker because we still have Denzel coming back most likely. So
he is a good one.
all right, let's talk any more NFL draft or.
I think
We
we
good?
save the NFL draft for a whole episode that we'll be doing soon.
Sounds good.
Are you gonna be joining us on Draft Talk this year?
I may. College football is not something I've ever paid attention to, but I can be.
We've got a couple
I was
people who are
gonna
probably
say,
going to rotate in and out.
Say we also have just a lot of really good tools that you can do some research off of.
I mean, I like to be invested in. This year's the first year I've ever played.
Fuck, last year I went 20 for 32 in my first round.
Yeah, Sigling murdered the first round last year. I'm not even gonna lie.
This year is the first year I've ever been in a.
And if I would have went with like my original picks, like if I went with
Here's
all of
LeBron.
if you completed all of my mock drafts together, there was only 3 players that I didn't pick the correct team on.
Oh fuck. Yeah, this year's the first
I'm
year.
pretty sure I
I've ever
picked
been
the
in
entire first round. How many mock drafts I did? Sigling
I've
Jesus.
been
Yeah,
in
I'm already like 40 deep,
But I
and
had
we
Sam
just started the
Howell, I
offseason.
had Sam Howell going to Washington in the first round at 17.
No, this year's the
What
first year
happened
I've
in the
ever been
first
in a
round, but-
seriously committed dynasty league. So I have to at least know the fantasy relevant players.
Yeah,
know?
you want to, and that's the one thing. Like, I mean, dude, we've been doing this for like the last few years. That we've been finding some diamonds that it's like, oh, whenever this guy gets taken, like I had Tariq Woolen number 4 on my cornerback big board by the end of the draft last year.
Shit.
I'm going to say this right now for everybody out there. The first person who's taken probably past the 4th round who will be a stud in this league is Ivan Pace Jr. from Cincinnati. He's used as an edge rusher, but this dude's going to be a dog. He's an off-ball linebacker. Like you put him as a, Sam or a Will in a 2 linebacker nickel coverage base system. He's going to wreak havoc. Dude's going to be a 4-4 dude. Great coverage instincts.
My favorite late round first pick, Joey Porter Jr.
Oh, love Joey. The hard part with the cornerback class this year that I'm finding is you have five dudes who could sneak.
He's going to switch to a hybrid safety.
He could. I think he's got the aggressiveness too. The problem is with the secondary class, they're all in this same bubble for me. Like Brian Branch, Antonio Johnson, Christian Gonzalez, Devin Witherspoon, fucking Keely Ringo, and Joey Porter Jr. They're all in this, they're all first round worthy talent, but only so many people are going to go secondary. Mm-hmm. Someone's going to drop into that early round too, and it's going to be nice for a team.
But also, I mean, you're kind of secondary players are almost coming like receivers now. You're able to find talent everywhere. Like hell, even the pick that their 6th-round pick that the Broncos had quietly one of the best rookie cornerback receivers or cornerbacking seasons that you can have.
Well, and obviously Tariq is the big example. I mean, still you can't overshadow like. I think Stingley had a good year, not a great year, but I think that just kind of proved what we were
Where
saying.
he was playing.
Yeah, exactly. Like I think that also, but it also kind of sticks to where we kind of thought he and Sauce would enter the league. Like we were like, no, Sauce is generational. To where Stingley's like, yeah, he'd be CB1 any other year, if it wasn't Sauce.
But not his rookie year.
Yep.
The Ayuk showing and proving his wide receiver 1 capabilities by burning Tariq Woolen last night yesterday.
They were playing him a lot in zone.
Yeah.
That was one thing that was.
Well, but see, but once again, Woolen is not Sauce Gardner because
Right.
you know that was his welcome to the NFL.
But it was a beautiful
Welcome to the pros, young blood.
It was a beautiful cap on the just how good is Ayuk. He was in the doghouse last year, and this year he shined. But did he just shine because Debo was hurt? And like, I love Brandon Ayuk.
I do too as well.
How about that?
Yesterday,
Well, should we end this one off in the camera and try to put together one more?
One more little slippy before we go.
Yeah.
All right.
I like these community ones.
hell yeah.
To you.
Stay tuned to the Twitter. We might post it, but to you.
Yesterday I wore my Jimmy jersey just because number 10 and that